There is a comprehensive list of features and tools for managing and deploying Azure resources. However, for the AZ-900 exam, you don't have to have deep knowledge of all of these. Just make sure you understand a definition of what each one does. For instance, starting out with the Azure portal. We've been in the Azure portal a lot in this AZ-900 course. This is a web-based graphical user interface, and it allows for the management of Azure resources through a web browser. You can go ahead and create users and enter ID, add resources like virtual machines and storage. Then there's the Azure Cloud Shell, and this is a browser-based command line tool that's accessible from the Azure portal, which I've shown you in previous demonstrations. It supports both Azure PowerShell for Windows-based commands and Azure Command Line Interface for Bash-based scripts. Azure PowerShell is a command line shell for professionals to run commands called commandlets for managing Azure resources. And we can use these commandlets to create resources or make changes. And Azure CLI, or Command Line Interface, is a cross-platform command line tool for creating and managing Azure resources. For managing resources, we have Azure Arc, and this is a service that provides a unified control plane for managing Azure and non-Azure resources across hybrid and multi-cloud environments, such as on-premises, in the Azure cloud, in Google Cloud, or in AWS. Azure Resource Manager, ARM, is a service that provides a management layer for deploying, updating, and deleting resources. It serves as a backend for Azure interactions. And you can save a lot of time by using ARM templates instead of manual creation. And what about those ARM templates? Well, these are JSON files used with Azure Resource Manager to define infrastructure as code, or IAC, something we went over in a previous video. This allows for consistent and repeatable deployments of resources across multiple different environment types. And resource groups. This is where resources are created and stored. Once you create a resource, it gets stored inside a resource group, which you can create new resource groups as needed, or you can go ahead and use previous ones already created. Resource tags, which are mainly used for organization and billing purposes that don't actually make any changes to the original resource themselves. Azure Monitor, which is a suite of tools that provides monitoring, diagnostics, and performance analysis for Azure resources that you create. And Azure Advisor. This is an AI-powered service, and it offers recommendations for optimizing Azure resources based on best practices. I'm going to show a demonstration where I use Azure Cloud Shell to open PowerShell and create a new Azure user. First, I'll install the module for the Microsoft Graph, and if you don't have the module installed, then the commandlets that you type afterwards may not work properly. First, I'll create a password profile, which includes a password, and then I'll create a new user with the display name of Renee Thomas. I'm going to enable the account, create the nickname of Renee T, and create a fully qualified user principal name, which is going to be Renee T, at techpubhub.onmicrosoft.com. I'm in Microsoft Azure, and I'll click on the Cloud Shell. And once again, I've gone ahead and automatically connected into the storage account that I used in a previous demonstration of this AZ-900 course. I've cleared the screen, and now I'm going to type in some of the commands that will allow me to create this user. First, I'm going to paste in the commandlet to install the module for Microsoft Graph. I'll go ahead and say yes to go ahead and install the module. It might take a minute for the modules to install. Once again, I'll clear the screen, and I'm going to paste in the password profile. And now I'm ready to create my new user. And there's my user, Renee Thomas. Let's just double check that it shows up in Enter ID. And there's our new user. Using PowerShell through the Cloud Shell option is a great way to add resources and users in Azure.